From the shadowy forests of the Ozarks to the forgotten hollers tucked deep in the heart of Arkansas, the strange has always had a way of finding the quiet places. But these stories, they don't just live in the past. They echo, they linger, and sometimes they return louder than ever. This is the Supernatural Roundtable, a place for stories, for questions, and for those who walk the line between the known and the unknown. Tonight, your hosts are Craig and Richard, believers, chasers of truth, and men who've heard just enough to know there's more out there than meets the eye. They aren't here to convince you, just to share what's been seen, and maybe what's still watching from the tree line. So pull up a chair. The night's just getting started, and your seat's been waiting.
All right, today on the Supernatural Roundtable, we're getting back to our roots and getting a little closer to home than what we've been doing. Me and Craig, we've always been really interested in Bigfoot. That's probably more so than ghosts and everything else. Bigfoot's always been, I guess you could say, our calling. And it has to do more with family history and events surrounding Bigfoot. I've not had as many experiences dealing with Bigfoot than Craig has, but I grew up hearing his stories, and that's what's really always gave me the drive to go look and find other stories about Bigfoot. And so we thought we'd get back to our roots and talk about all of Craig's experiences and talk about my experiences. And we're also going to get into some Arkansas history dealing with Bigfoot. Maybe even branch into Oklahoma too. We'll see where it goes. Craig, if you want to go ahead and we'll go to the beginning of where it all started for Craig. Where our family used to own a hog farm, and I'm going to let him pick it up from there.
Yeah, we moved out on the hog farm about 1981. And, through them first several years, there wasn't no concern for anything. We just raised the hogs and went on about our business pretty much. And then it was 1986, the fall of 1986. It all started, and we've got several theories that I'll discuss here in a little bit about it all. But anyway, my first encounter, and this is kind of late. Early, it's starting to get cold. It's about, I guess, October, and I'm 16 years old. And one of our responsibilities was going down to the farrowing house to check on baby pigs. And, it was late at night, and I knew I needed to get down there and check on some baby pigs. And, as they're being born, put them underneath the heat lamp and make sure they don't freeze. Anyway, the hog barn itself is about 100 yards away from the main house, and of course I usually walked it. I didn't have no problem with that, and I carried numerous guns with me, and had my dogs with me, and of course that day, I just happened to be carrying a 410 shotgun. Well, I was carrying it because we've been having problems with wild dogs and coyotes and stuff. So, I'd walk down the roads and just shine the light out into the pastures, trying to catch some eye shine. And anyway, we had one of them street lights there at our farrowing house. Where you turn into the driveway off the main road. And anyway, I'm shining the light on down the road, and I see some eyes way down there. And I'm not thinking much about it, from where I'm at, it don't look that big. Anyway, I point down the road and I tell my dogs to get it, sick it. So they take off running, and I'm running behind them. Of course, they're a lot faster, so they beat me down there, but they stopped, and I have no idea. They had never stopped before. I mean, if I told them to get something, whether it be a dog or whatever, it didn't matter. They was on it. Um, they'd even attack a hog if I told them to. But anyway, they beat me down there, and I get down there, and I'm mad at my dogs, and I'm not paying attention to what's right in front of me. So I'm sitting there and I'm cussing my dogs, and trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And then it just kind of dawns on me, hey, I need to look up. So I looked up, and where I thought the eyes were, I seen feet. And at this point, I'm probably within 12 to 13 steps away from this thing. And I see the feet, and I have an old D-cell flashlight. It ain't nothing fancy. Back in those days, it was hard to get a good flashlight.
Yeah.
And I started shining the light up. The legs. Oh my gosh, they're like trunks of a tree. They're just huge and massive. And I see his arms hanging down his side, and they're almost to his knees. And I'm shining on up, and broad chest. Oh my gosh, it was. I have a real broad chest, big chest, and everything. And let me tell you, he'd make about 3 or 4 of me. I mean, he was wide, and the reason why I call it a he is because, well, I didn't see no breast. But anyway, I shine up and I catch the face, and with the light, the eyes glowed red at me. I mean, just flashing red. And of course, we're that close, I could see all the features. He had a thick brow ridge going across. His facial features were much like ours, and even this one, they say a lot of them have like a gorilla mouth and stuff like that, but this one had more of a mouth like ours. I mean, it was big lips. The nose was, it was protruding out like ours, and it didn't really have hair in its face. A little hair coming down from its bangs, but that was about it. And anyway, we stood there. I don't know. It seemed like an eternity. I don't know how long it'd been. I mean, he looked at me, I looked at him. We just kept staring, and finally, I looked down. I knew I wasn't going to shoot him with no 410.
Yeah.
So I start backpedaling a little bit, really slow. I take about 3 steps backwards. Well, he's still looking at me, and he's standing on the left side here in the ditch. And anyway, it's like he ain't even concerned about me at all.
So no sign of aggression at all, or nothing.
No, not this one. And he turned and he crossed the road in 2 steps. And right there, it's pretty wide. Of course, there, Richard. It's right there where the power lines cross.
Yeah.
And it's a real wide spot in the road, and to cross it in 2 steps, I mean, that's just unimaginable. If I was going to guess his height, I'd have to say, 8 to 10 foot range. I really didn't have nothing to really kind of measure with, later on. So I couldn't tell you the exact height, but I know he was huge. And he made them 2 steps across the road, and he disappeared into a honeysuckle thicket. And he went out there, and of course, then my dogs decide to go after it. So they go after it, and I hear them out there. They're barking like crazy. And one of my dogs, I heard her yelp, and she comes running back to me. She's hurt. Literally had the skin ripped down one of her legs over halfway. I mean, it was just like it just took it and just ripped it down. The only thing I can guess is she got way too close,
She,
and I'm holding her, and that's when this thing made the awfulest sound. It was more like a guttural growl sound, and you could tell it was intense. And of course the rest of my dogs, they finally backed away after that. Um, I don't know. I think it was a way to scare the dogs away from it. Uh, but that really frightened me. And after the experience, I just kept it quiet. Back then you just didn't say stuff like that. People think you was bonkers.
yeah, and it hadn't experienced or it hadn't shown aggression up to that point either, had it?
Right, right. And you know, uh, it that guttural sound is what really got me, though. I mean, I wouldn't have called it like infrasound or anything, but I could feel it like resonating in my chest.
Hmm.
It was just one of them sounds. And it really wasn't all that loud either, but it was loud enough where I could feel it, and
Yeah.
that's what really got me.
Do you remember being sick or anything afterwards?
I never did get sick, and I don't think on any of my encounters, I don't think I got sick once. Now, one of my other encounters, I'll discuss here in a little bit. I feel I was overtaken by infrasound, and I froze.
Yeah. 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 Do you remember what color he was?
That one there, he was more of a darkish, uh, more of a darkish brown.
Darkest brown.
Yeah, it wasn't really red like some of them, but it was a darkish brown. Yeah, I can remember that.
Yeah.
But really, what got me was them eyes flashing red when you shine the light in them.
So
I
it's
mean that.
you can see the eye shine the reflection shining back at you.
Yes, it
Like
was. It was. Oh, yeah.
yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can actually kind of see the goosebumps on your arms a little bit.
Yeah, it really did. Just talking about it and all, it really gets me. But that was the first encounter, and after that, and I swear this was for a solid year. Uh, I seen, I seen it or them more than anybody.
Hmm.
Um, Shortly thereafter, I guess, was my next one, which was me and my good buddy Jimmy Scott, where we're coming back from movie theater, and it was late at night. It was after 10 o'clock. Movie house let out at 10, and
Hold on one second, Craig. To
yeah,
emphasize people not really understanding where they lived at the time, pretty much boondocks, middle of nowhere. Arkansas is pretty, that part of Arkansas. Uh, the Sugar Grove area, they were past the Sugar Grove area. Boonville's the biggest town around, what, 2,000, 3,000 people at that time. The biggest place to work was called DPM at the time, Cargill. which is now gone.
And to top it all off, we was 17 miles from town. We was 10. It was 10 miles to get to Sugar Grove, and then 7 miles of dirt road to get to our house.
Yeah. I just wanted to emphasize how far out y'all were. It wasn't
Yeah,
like this was right around the corner from a near major town.
right.
If y'all needed something from town, it took a minute to get there.
Well, normally it was like, when we made trips to town, it was like, every 2 weeks. You couldn't afford to just go every time.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Anyway, continue, Greg. Sorry.
all right, you're fine. You're fine. But anyway, me and Jimmy, we just come back from Boonville. We had been to the theater, and we got over there on the dirt road, and everybody, all my buddies and friends and stuff, they know the area that I'm talking about. But we're driving home, and we get past the old Sam Brown place, and we have a flat. Well, I'm driving my mom's old station wagon, and uh, get back there, and we're looking for a jack, and can't find a jack. I guess last time we'd used it, we used it. We didn't put it back in the car. So here's me and Jimmy, and we're way down there. So we start into walking. That's about all we can do. And we got several miles. Probably, I don't know. From there, it's probably about another 4 or 5 miles, give or take, to get to our house. And we're walking along there. Of course, me and Jimmy, we're goofing around, talking and everything else. We get on down there, and there's a cemetery down there. Um, right before you get to uh, where it kind of tees off from Lovall Road. Anyway, there's a cemetery there, and before that cemetery, back then, it was just big old fields, and you could actually see out there. Nowadays, you can't. And about the only thing separating the field, there's an old barbed wire fence, and there's trees in the fence line itself, but you could still see out. And on that night, the moon was shining bright. Matter of fact, it was shining to my right where I seen this one. And anyway, we're walking along. Right before we get to the cemetery, I hear this it's like a thump, and I look over there and I see it, and it's standing just the other side of the fence, and you can see the silhouette of it from the moon. The moon's behind it, so you can see the silhouette. And oh my gosh, this thing, it was a lot bigger than the first one. Uh, if I was going to average a size, it had to have been somewhere in the 12-foot range or more. I mean, it was just humongous. Uh, I, I mean, nowadays, I guess if I'd known then, what I know now, that would have been great. But anyway, I look over there and I see it, and it's huge, and it's actually walking toward us. And you know how you get the feeling that something just ain't right, and you need to get out of there.
Yeah, the bad
And
intentions feeling.
I think this one would have hurt us. Well, I thought I told Jimmy to run, but I guess that was all in my mind. I guess I did not, but I took off running. And anyway, and he finally realizes there's something there too, and he looks at it, and he comes running after me, and he finally caught me about a mile and a half down the road. We was huffing and a puffing, and we was discussing it, and we really didn't know what to think, honestly. We didn't know if we wanted to tell anybody, and matter of fact, got to the house, and we didn't even mention it to my dad and them. We just told them what happened and took the truck back to get the car back to the house. But that one there, the feeling, it was just a terrible feeling. The hairs on the back of your neck just stood up, and you know, I think if we would have just stood there, I think it would have hurt us really bad. Luckily, there was a barbed wire fence, and trees in the way, you know, as it was coming toward us. That it might have been worse. I don't know.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it made an actual attempt to really chase y'all down.
Well, no, that one didn't. That one didn't. But I really kind of, by its size and stuff, at this point, as I think back, I'm thinking we was having a family group. This one's a darker color, but it's much bigger, so I would have called it the alpha.
Hmm.
No doubt, it was huge.
Big Dad.
Yes, and I think my first encounter, because it didn't act like it wanted to hurt me, even though it was big too at 8 feet tall. I think it was still a juvenile. That's my opinion.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. Did you see any detail on the one you saw, the second one?
I just seen the silhouette of it. I mean, you could tell it had kind of the cone shaped head.
The classic dome.
Yeah, the
Dome.
classic dome head, and you could just see it looked like with the silhouette that it had a lot more hair on it than what that first one did.
Hmm. A lot more mature looking, you'd think.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
And then I guess maybe that was infrasound that hit you, and the thump was to get your attention.
I guess I don't know. I don't know if we surprised it or it surprised us. I'm not for sure which on that
Well, I
one.
mean, it's probably a situation like not expecting people to be walking down the road middle of the night in the middle of nowhere.
Well, about that time it was probably roughly about 11:30, somewhere along in there. By the time we got there,
Yeah, I mean, how many people are going to be walking down the road at 11:30 at night?
exactly, exactly.
So you're somewhere it's not expecting you to be. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. What do I
Yeah,
know? I'm just
right,
I'm making a guess, and you're somewhere he doesn't want you to be right then and there. Maybe the family group was nearby, and they heard
right,
you,
right,
and he
exactly.
he he might have been just running you off.
May have been. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like I said, if nowadays, of course, nowadays I wouldn't be able to run like that anymore. So it's either face them or,
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, fast forward a little further, and my next encounter. Now this was a Sunday. Um, Richard, of course, he was a little baby then. My sister, my brother-in-law at that time, they was all down. They was visiting.
Hey, aren't you
Yeah.
forgetting one? The
What's
lake,
that?
the lake encounter.
That was after.
Oh, okay,
That
sorry, my
that was
bad, my
after this.
bad, my
That
bad.
was after this. Um, but anyway, Shelley and Rick, they're loading up the car and everything, or their vehicle, and uh, I don't know. All of a sudden, one of my dogs, Bear, he's a mixed dog. He was a more than a half breed, I guess you might say. Heinz 57, but he was a really good dog, and he would protect us. Uh, Richard knows this. That dog he was a great watchdog. But anyway, he was cowering on the porch, and I went out there, and I was like, trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. I mean, it's almost sunset. You know, you can still see, and I finally look where Bear's looking at, and I jump off, go over there and jump off the porch, and I walk over. There's this tree that's right there at the corner of the driveway, and of course the county road comes through there, and I walk out there and I'm standing beside this tree against the road, and I mean just right across the road, I see it, and of course it's up against the bushes and stuff, so it's blending in really well, like camouflage. You know, I don't know if I would have seen it if I hadn't have walked out there. And anyway, this one I couldn't really tell what color it was or anything like that. I just knew it was big, and it was real dark, you know, blending in with that. And I stood there and I froze. I could hear everything going around me, behind me. You know, my sister and them talking, my brother-in-law, and I could hear everything, but I just couldn't move. And Rick, which is Richard's dad, at that time, he seen me out there, and he come up to me, and he was like, I could hear him. He was saying, Craig, what's wrong? Craig. And I heard him, but I couldn't answer him. And, you know, finally he reaches over there and he grabs up and touches my shoulder and kind of moves me a little bit. And when he does that, this thing takes off running, and you could hear it. You'd hear it crashing down the fence line. Then it cuts into the main woods, and it just you still hear it plumb around. And it went around, made a big old large circle, and finally seen it later on. You know, way down past the hog barn, we actually seen it cross the road again. But I don't know what it was doing to me, but that one there, I don't know what its intentions were, honestly. If your dad hadn't come up to me, would it have hurt me? Possibility, I don't know. But it made me freeze. It made me, you know, my chest and everything, everything was just tensed up really bad. Heartbeat, you know, I was beating fast. It was a terrible feeling. Yeah. I didn't get sick from it. It was just hard to describe.
That's I've heard of infrasound doing stuff somewhat like that, but never quite like that. It's usually just the overwhelming feeling of you needing to leave or fear or
right.
But I've heard of infrasound. I know of tigers will do it to deer and stuff and make them just completely freeze. I've heard of that in nature, but I've never heard of Bigfoot doing it like that.
I seen a documentary once, and there was actually a tiger's cage, and the tigers were doing that through the cage at I can't remember who it was in the documentary, but they was doing it toward them, and they said it was a, you know, overwhelming fear, you know, that made them, you know, especially in their chest, you know. But yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I remember Mom talking about it. She said the whole time she was out there, she just felt like she was being watched that whole time. Of course, I can't remember. I was a baby, so.
Well, you know, when we first moved out there, you know, there was no problems. We didn't have no problems. There was times you go down there to the hog barn, check on baby pigs at midnight, you know, and you'd feel insecure, definitely. But we'd never had no sightings before that, you know, up until '86, and I don't know. These things just started coming out of the mountain, I guess.
Hmm. It's spooky. We'll get into our theories on that here in a little bit for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. Uh, the next one,
It's kind of crazy.
I
Cause
know it's crazy.
it's
It's crazy.
well, it's just here's my thing on it. Most Bigfoot researchers don't have one encounter. You have multiple over hell like a year to 2 year period that just boom
Right.
boom 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 boom.
I know
It's
it was
crazy.
just crazy. And I wish I would have had a way to video. Oh my gosh, I could have got hellacious footage. It would have been unreal.
Well, even if you were aware of the topic at the time, the knowledge you would have gained. I mean, you were unaware of pretty much Bigfoot, and even if you had, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a Pacific Northwest thing," or
Well,
"It's the Fouke Monster thing." You know.
right, right. That's about the only thing I knew. I knew about the Fouke monster. I'd seen Legend of Boggy Creek, the documentary. And that's all I knew.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move along here. My next one, of course, we had to ride the bus a long ways to school. It was usually a 2-hour trip, and you're talking fall of the year. It starts getting really dark. 5:30. Or so. Uh, but anyway, I had to ride. We rode the bus for 2 hours. We get school would let out at 3:25, and we wasn't home till almost 5:30 a lot of times. And I don't know. This one evening, I got off the bus, and I don't know. I had a hankering to go down to the lake and look for arrowheads. And I knew that they was draining Blue Mountain Lake at that time, and that was usually the best time to find arrowheads. So I went down there and drove my 3 wheeler. I had old tri-modal 3 wheeler, pull start,
Hmm.
and I get down there and I park at the edge of the water, and I leave my 3 wheeler there, and I start walking the other way. And I'm walking. I don't know. I guess roughly 40 or 50 yards. I walk down the bank there, and I start getting this feeling I'm being watched. And my hairs are standing up on the back of my neck. I'm getting goosebumps, and I know something ain't right. So I look around, I scan, and I see something that it's about roughly 100 yards away or so, and I could see him. They had these small, I don't know what kind of trees they are, sycamore trees or whatever, but they don't get very tall. Out there at the pecan trees at that time, they'd only grow about 7 8 foot. This thing was towering over them, and it was looking at me. And we looked at each other, and then it started doing like this with its hands, moving these trees, and started walking toward me. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I went, ran, got on my 3 wheeler, and I'm watching it, not paying attention to what I'm doing. And I'm pulling. Of course, my 3 wheeler is not starting, of all things. It's like a bad horror movie. You're sitting there trying to get something started and it just won't start. Well, finally, I looked down and I forgot to turn the switch on. So that was on me. So I turned the switch on. Of course, it starts right up. And by this time, this thing's probably roughly roughly 50 yards from me. Well, the road itself at the pecan trees where I was parked, it kind of when you come in, it kind of come in and then circle back around. And I knew and this thing was coming from this way. So I knew that if I took the road, this thing could cut me off at the road. So I did the only thing I knew to do, and I started cutting across country, running through. I mean, I ran through briars and honeysuckle thickets and all that, and I was getting it. I was moving on, and I can I can remember one when I got to the house. I just threw my hands up. You know, I killed the three wheeler, but I left it rolling, and I just jumped off, and I went straight into the house. And mom and my sister, they both said when I come in that I was totally white, uh, with fear. They said it was just what I look like, uh, and I told them what I seen, and I think mom at this point, is starting to kind of believe some of the stuff. Uh, because at that time we started having, well, we was having, believe it or not, UFO sightings around this time as well. Whether there's a connection between Bigfoot and the UFOs, possibly. I mean, there's a lot of theories out there on it, and this is one of my other theories about why they was coming down out of the mountains. Now that we think about it, and we've sat around talked about it, uh, I believe with them draining Blue Mountain Lake that they were coming down to feed because the fish were real easy to catch. They was pulled up into little pools and they could catch them so easily it
Hmm.
wouldn't have been no problem. And I believe that's part of the reason why they was there.
So, this one, I mean, do you think it was that big one that you'd seen initially, the really big one?
I don't know. I think even this one might have been a different one too. This one was, you could see it with a kind of the light. It kind of had a reddish appeal to it, and that's why I think it was different. The rest of them were, of course, the one at the house. I couldn't really tell about it because it blended so well up in there, and it made it look such a dark color. I'm not sure what color it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about.
Yes, no doubt,
I,
no
s-
doubt.
I still think if it really wanted to catch you, it would have caught you, though. I think its intention was to drive you out of there. Probably,
It
probably they had a family in there and they were eating.
or yeah, yeah, or it wanted to eat and I was in the way.
That too.
It's just weird how everything went along, and we even had an episode where one night we're all in bed, we're all asleep, and all of a sudden, I mean, something just hits the side of the house between my room and mom and dad's room. I mean, you just feel it shake the entire house. And of course, I get up and I throw on some pants, grabbed a hold of a 12 gauge shotgun, and I'm out the door. But by this time, this thing, it's already gone. And you could hear it though. At that time, our neighbors they had some hound dogs, and then we had our dogs, and they always tried chasing this thing, and you heard it. I could hear it circle around. You could tell it was leaving the dogs in the dust, but it circled back around, and it crossed the road down there past the street light at the hog barn. But the thing about it is, the next morning, I kind of tell Dad about this, and
He wasn't home at the
well,
time, was he? He was at
no,
DPM
no, he
working.
worked nights. Yeah, he worked nights at the meat processing plant in Boonville. Anyway, so we go out there and we look, and there is a forearm print, and I don't know how big this forearm print was. It was humongous. It was huge. It was just you could tell where it dented the siding, but it left that part of its print on there, and it was just amazing how big it was, and how big around. I don't know. It'd make two or three of mine. I feel I got a pretty nice sized forearm. And oh man, it's just scary to think about that.
The power.
Yes, no doubt.
And
And I still don't understand what it was doing by doing that. I don't know if it was trying to get our attention or what. You know, maybe it was watching in a window in one of the windows and we never seen it or something, and it just wanted to wake us up. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, of course, we weren't really aware. Of course, then again, I wasn't really cognitively
Yeah,
active at the time, so
yeah, yeah,
uh,
exactly.
I can't. I mean, there's so many questions that we still have about all that happened out there. And then wasn't there a roof from a shed that was thrown off into a lagoon?
Yeah, we never could figure that one out. We had a old, uh, we made it ourselves. It was a movable shed. You could remove the roof, and you could move it around to where you needed to. Anywhere in any one of the pastures, and we had it over there, and it was in what we call our west pasture, and we had it about roughly 5 feet from the fence. And on the other side of the fence was our lagoon where all the crap ran from the Farron house. But anyway, went down there one morning, and I mean this roof it had come off. Uh, there was no wind that night. It was really cold. It was a pretty cold night. There was no wind, and the roof itself, there was nowhere on the ground where it had marks where it touched. It's like it left that area and landed plumb off into the lagoon. And we couldn't figure it out. And this roof, and when I say it was heavy, um, it literally took four of us to dig it out of get it out of the lagoon and to put it back on. Each one of us had a corner. This roof, give or take, probably weighed 500 pounds or better.
Yeah.
It was heavy.
And it was also, if I recall you telling me, was fitted to fit on the roof so it wouldn't just blow off. You had to
Right.
fit it onto the roof.
Yeah, it was
So
it was fitted perfectly.
a strong gust of wind wouldn't have just blown it off, and it wouldn't just slide off.
Right, and you'd figure if it was wind that it would at least went over and caught the fence some way or another. But there was no marks
Yeah.
at all, and that was the crazy part, and we never could figure that out.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Huh.
It, but anyway, another kind of a story, I guess. A lot of people don't even know this one. Uh, I don't. But anyway, I had a buddy that lived down the road. His name was Tyson Holt, and we had been discussing it for a while, and we had heard stories about Tater Hill, and everybody around there, if you know Tater Hill, it's a real creepy place.
It is. The way the farm is situated, you have Blue Mountain Lake up here, the farm, then the mountains south of it. Yeah, it would be south of it. You have the one chain of mountains, Flood, Dry Creek, and you have
Right.
Tater Hill that sits off to the side. I've been on Tater Hill. There's something spooky about that place. I mean, the whole mountain chain itself is spooky. We've been up there. We've got pictures. I'll even post them up here on this video of strange things we found. But there's something spooky about Tater Hill.
Well, I'll tell you, before I get on with my story, I'll tell you, this is later on in years. My dad, uh, they always went up there bear hunt. And he said he's sitting there on the side looking down. And of course, you know how the cedar trees grow. You know, they grow up off the ground. There's usually a space, you know, where between the ground and the actual limbs. And he thought it was his buddies he was seeing, but he seen four legs. He seen two, and they was far enough apart that it couldn't have been a bear.
Hmm.
You know, and like he said, all he seen was the legs, and it was far enough away. It almost looked like they was camouflage legs. And he thought it was his buddies. Well, you know, shortly thereafter, his buddies came from a different direction. So, you know, what did he see?
Hmm.
And, you know, he's not for sure. And he'll tell you himself that he gets creeped out on Tater Hill.
And my grandpa he's not what I would call a believer in this yet. He wants to believe, but he's also not prone to exaggeration. Very much a believer in the Bible, preaches in church.
Right.
Definitely not one to exaggerate stories.
Exactly. You know,
And
and
this place creeps him out.
oh, yeah. But anyway, me and Tyson, we decided, you know, it was a full moon night. And we decided we was going to be a little tough and go up on Tater Hill. There was, you know, you didn't have to go all the way. You know, there's one part that's higher than the other, and you didn't have to go all the way up. And we knew of this little flat spot up there, and we decided to get in it. You know, and we're just going to build a fire. You know, we didn't take much with us. We did take a couple of guns with us and stuff. You know, and then we was just gonna, you know, just see what would happen. I guess more or less. You know, and we was planning on staying up there all night. Well, things did not work out the way we planned. Where we was sitting at, you know, we kind of, like I said, we had a fire built, and we kind of, at first, you know, we was kind of sitting around the fire, but we started hearing these noises, and so me and him actually got back to back, so nothing could sneak up on us. But whatever was out there would not come in close enough, you know, to even get a sight of it. And so, you know, that area is so dense anyway, and even with moonlight, you couldn't see much.
What kind of noises were y'all hearing?
Oh, we was hearing grunts, and then we'd hear it'd be like you know, you'd hear something moving on one side, and then all of a sudden it was on the other side, and then it was over here, and then it was over there, you know, and it was like, I don't know how many was out there, but it was like there's 5, 6, I don't know, maybe more out there.
Hmm.
I have no idea. But me and him, I mean, we're getting at this point we're about to lose our minds. You know, we're just young teenagers. You know, and you know, and back then I wasn't really scared of much of nothing. You know, nothing really bothered me. To this day, I'm not really bothered by too much. Uh, but whatever was there and up there, I do not know. All I know is me and him, we took off. You know, we didn't really we didn't really run together. You know, there's a couple little trails there, and he followed one, I followed the other. And we got out of there as quick as we could. Well, I mean, by the time we got down to the bottom, we had, our dead gum shirts were tore on us. I don't know how many times we ran into trees and uh, briar patches and all that. It was just one of them nights. You just you just didn't care how you got out. You
You
just
just
got
grabbed it and
out.
got down. Like, so you never heard? I mean, you said grunts. Was there any other kind of sounds y'all heard, just other than shuffling and stuff?
Grunts, guttural sounds. Um, there wasn't really no like hollering like they do at times. Wasn't none of that. It was growls, grunts, and these guttural
Growls.
sounds.
Oof.
Yeah, there was one. There was one that growled at us.
Oh, that very much sounds like it's territorial, which is why I kind of brought it up before we started recording. I was like, that sounds very Bigfoot like.
Yes, yes. I don't. Like I said, I don't know how many there was. It might have just been just a couple of them, and they was so fast, moving around one way to the other. I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
don't
it was
know.
it freaked me out. Yes, it did.
I don't know. It's just there's so much about that area. There's so few people that, I mean, there's more people that live there now in that general area, but there's so few people that live in that general area generally. Well, Jesus, generally, but so few people that live out that way, and it's so remote, and it's a wilderness area on top of it. That yeah,
Well, you got Blue Mountain Lake, and we lived on the backside of Blue Mountain Lake, about a couple miles from it, and at the bottom of Flood Mountain.
yeah.
So, you know, uh, we had the best of all the worlds, for a Bigfoot, so to speak.
I guess so.
And living out there on the farm, my dad has talked about this. We didn't keep a really good record of like all of our pigs, so there's no doubt. I mean, we think we had some end up missing, but we didn't have back then. We just didn't have good documentation,
Yeah,
so or good counts. For our hog farm. You have a bunch of pigs. It's hard to keep count. Of what's going on.
yeah. That's more than likely. There's some that came up missing.
Oh, I figured there was. There was times I thought, now wait a minute, what happened to that? It'd be a certain color pig, and all of a sudden he'd be gone. I wouldn't see him no more, and I tried to think about it. It was weird.
And if y'all ever had one die, I mean, what would you do with it?
Oh, like a big sow or something like that. We just pulled it with the tractor or the four wheeler or whatever to the back of the property and left it.
Yeah, so they were
You know,
they could get food that way.
well, yeah. I mean, we had so many coyotes, wild dogs, and all kinds of animals. And you'd pull like a dead sow out to the back behind the pastures. It'd be gone the next day. Th- There wouldn't
Excuse
be
me.
nothing left.
hmm That's if they weren't taking it too.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. Plus, then they introduced the bear, and if they were eating bear too,
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. It was crazy. Everything that went on. Like I said, the UFO thing that was crazy too, because that was going on. Mom and my sister, they seen three UFOs circling above the ridge right there from the house, and I mean, there was no explanation for it. I mean, these things were moving so fast that there's no way it could have been any type of aircraft by the government or anybody else.
That's
And then the mothership, this, and I swear it was a mothership. I'll say it to this day. You know, it come over, and that was when we lived in the trailer house before we moved into the house. You know, it was that one night. It just lit up bright as day, and then we all go out and we could see the tail end of it going over the hill, and it was humongous, following the power line. And we wasn't the only ones to see it that night either. There was people on down the line that actually seen it with us too. So you know,
that is that's wild that it happened like that.
I know it.
I remember I've seen lots over that area too. I was on Mount Magazine. It's when I had one of my exes, and she worked on the lodge at Mount Magazine, and I had to go pick her up one night. And I was coming across that overlook on the Belleville side, and I just happened to slow down enough. I was getting a kind of good look. I wasn't going to stop or anything, but I was just looking. And I seen a light shoot up from the backside of Blue Mountain Lake, and just shoot up from there, and hovered, and then just go straight up and disappeared into the clouds. I was like, "Holy hell! What did I just see?"
Right, right. And you know, all the theories, you know, about UFOs and Bigfoots. I mean, that might be another episode we can do later on down the line.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure. I'm not discounting anything. I mean, I think it's
right,
still a flesh and blood thing for sure, but there's so many weird instances where UFOs and Bigfoot, it's just a weird phenomenon together for sure.
right, right. You know, and Bigfoot disappearing. You know, and
Yeah,
you know their foot tracks just ending and they go nowhere and they can't explain it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Didn't we also have a family member that found footprints in the snow out there?
Yes. That was my uncle Carol and my cousin Cindy. Um, this was it was cold, but they found baby footprints in the snow, and they followed them for a good ways. They said, but they finally ended up losing them along some rocks and stuff. You know, the snows. There wasn't as much snow where they lost them at, so they couldn't keep following it. But I mean, you're talking about wintertime, cold, snow on the ground, and a footprint that big couldn't have been human.
Yeah.
So
What would a child be doing out in the middle of this area, in the middle of nowhere,
it
in the middle of winter?
exactly.
That's just
You
wild to think
know,
about.
and there's a lot of people that have stories out there. They just don't tell them. And it's just crazy. Richard, of course, he has a story. Of course, it's a little further than where we was, but it's near a little town called Belleville.
Oh yeah, jeez.
And I'll let you tell. He can tell about his experiences there.
Yeah. Now I've never actually, still to this day, I've never seen anything. Just pointing that out. But what was it? 2006, 2007, I guess, around that time. Me and a couple of buddies had started fishing out of these sloughs along the Pettigene River bottoms out of this little town called Belleville. We lived in Belleville at the time. Fishing was pretty good in the little sloughs. I mean, when it floods, the Pettigene River floods, and there's catfish and everything that get trapped in those little sloughs. We decided to start taking up night fishing. We decided, hey, it's good. Might as well start doing it because catfish, I mean, they're pretty good at night. And it was December. I remember it being December and it being unseasonably warm. Because, of course, here in the South, it'll do that. You'll get some weird weather patterns here during the South. And me and a buddy of mine decided to go back to town for something, so we left another buddy there by himself. He's like, I'll be good. I'll stay. Like, are you sure? You know. Sure enough, we get back to camp, and he's ready to go back home. I'm like, okay. You know, it kind of threw me off. He's like, yeah, I'm ready to go back home. Like, and then the buddy that had been with me, he's like, I'll stay here. I'll make a fire. I'm like, all right then. So I took the buddy that had originally stayed, Jacob, took him back home. My buddy Jonathan stayed, made the fire. And I came back. He made the fire. We're all good. We just set up a tent. We planned to stay the night. We even brought burger patties and stuff. We were going to cook dinner over a fire that night. All right, it was about 12 o'clock. I can remember this pretty well because he was chopping wood to get more of a fire going, so we'd have, pretty big roaring fire into the night. I remember all the stories, but at this point in time, Bigfoot was the furthest thing from my mind. I'd kind of pushed all the stories out of my mind, That's long gone. I'd left Bigfoot behind a long time ago.
Well, what's odd about this story is it's so close to town. I mean, it's only a few miles outside of the town of Belleville.
It's almost a mile and a half as the crow flies to my house from where the slough is. As the crow flies. Anyway, on our side of the slough, I hear this woo, sound. And everything stops. I stop. He stops chopping. We look at each other. And I don't know why that sound made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, but it did. And my dog is I had a little Cocker Spaniel. He goes into the tent. He's just sitting in the tent. He won't come out. And I'm like, okay, that's different. And I stand up away from the water. We're both by the fire. We're like, we're like, what the hell's that? You ever heard that before? And he's like, no, I ain't never heard anything like that here. Then we hear it again. The first time we heard it, probably about 100 yards, I'd say. Second time we heard it, 35, 40 yards, if I had to guess. A lot closer. A lot louder, too. And it's just that woo sound, Weird sound, but it made me really nervous right off the bat. So I'm like, okay. I was like, we need to go. And he didn't argue with me a bit. He's like, okay, we need to go. And I remember I grabbed my dog. We didn't even bother with the fire. I don't know why. We just didn't. I guess because we felt more comfortable having light to load up. Which is probably in hindsight kind of dumb because it could have started a fire. But we had a good ring around the fire. It wouldn't have got out. I remember bailing into the passenger side of my Jeep. I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. I think it was a 94 model. Had the dog under one arm. I didn't go to the driver's side because the sound had come from the driver's side. And I'm like, no, seen this horror movie before. I ain't doing that crap. And I remember backing straight out because I did not want to swing my lights. For some reason, I did not want to see what had made that sound. My mind told me, you don't want to see this. So I backed straight out and I haul ass to town. Didn't take me long to get there. Now I remember calling Mom. I had a little flip phone. I called Mom. I was like, we just got ran off by something from our campsite. And she'd been out with a friend of hers. She's having a good time, let's say that. She wants to go back to the campsite to investigate. Me and him are not having it, but they talk us into it because the friend she's out with is his mom. I'm like, great. Because they're going to go back without us, and we can't have that, So we go back. Nothing really happens. But I think they do put out the fire. But we go back the next day. Our tent is open. I remember closing it. Our food had been inside. Our tent is open. The food is gone. We had a rake there. For whatever reason, the rake is now in the fire and it's half burnt. I guess the fire had started back up. That was really weird. And then I explored around the campsite a little bit more in the daylight. And I found what I'm guessing was a 16-inch footprint, barefoot in the mud. I wish I still had that little flip phone because I had a picture. I don't know whatever happened to that damn phone, but I had a picture. And we also interrogated my friend Jacob, and he said the whole time we were gone, he was hearing sounds on the other side of that slough. He's like, I'd hear stuff walking, stuff knocking, and he said it freaked him out, and he didn't want to be there anymore. So that's why he wanted to leave.
Well, Jacob, he wasn't too much of a outdoorsy type person anyway.
No, that's why I was like really, I'm not talking bad about him, but that's why I was really surprised when he wanted to be left there by himself. But, and it just, the weird stuff kept continuing. That whole year was weird after that initial.
Now, y'all actually seen something cross the road. Y'all told us about that.
Yeah. Ooh, that just gave me chills. That was later. I'll get to it. I know we go back another time. I can't remember if this was this was another night, and I know Jonathan was with us, and his mom was with us, and my mom was with us, and we buried the Jeep in that same spot. Oh, I hated this night. This night will live forever. Some nights it still bothers me. Nothing bad happened this night, really, in the grand scheme of things. Could have been a lot worse. So it's a mile and a half or more walk back to town from where we bury the Jeep. And it's a bright moonlit night. We bury the Jeep. We have to walk back across this farmer's road to get to the main dirt road. Then it goes back, and then it curves to go back to town. We get to that curve, and we hear branches breaking as soon as we hit that curve. And this overwhelming sense of dread washed over every single one of us as soon as those branches start breaking. And we all froze. It was right there in the middle of the road. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And we went back to back on that road. And we sat there. I called my dad, because at the time he was living in Havana. And I was like, hey, we are stuck. I need you to come get us, like right now. I was like, we're not in a good situation. I explained to him what was going on. Of course, he is a believer in Bigfoot. I was like, we just had something happen. I was like, you need to come get us right now. That was the longest 20 to 30 minutes of my life, standing back to back in that road. That was creepy, because that feeling of dread did not leave until we seen those truck lights come over that little hump there coming to get us. We didn't see another car. We didn't hear another sound. There were no nightly noises after that. This was probably April or March, I would hazard to say. You should hear noises. You should hear nightly sounds. You should hear something. We didn't hear nothing. Just dead silence. That entire time. Went back again the next day. I did find a deer carcass, but thinking back on it, it was a little bit decomposed. So I don't think it was guarding a kill. I think there was something there that was like, hey, you don't need to be here right now. But we had no way to get out because it was blocking the only exit we had out. I wasn't going back the other way, because the other way was a 7-mile trip. I've walked it before. 7 miles, ring around, and you're going through more thick woods. I'm not doing that. Not in the middle of the night.
Right.
Ugh. Yeah. And then we started having. I remember one night I'm sitting at home and I'm by myself. And I start hearing walking outside the house in the pasture. And the way the house is, I mean, 20 feet to the fence. That's it, maybe, if that. And the pasture's grown up, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, my neighbor used to keep cows down there. I'm thinking, hey, it's just one of Gary's cows. Then I got to thinking, he got rid of all of his cows. What the hell am I hearing? Because it was big. Whatever I'm hearing was big. So I went out on the porch, and that same feeling that I got that night on the road came over me again. I didn't even make it off the porch. I didn't make it very far from the door at all. My dog poked his head out, and he's like, nope, back inside. So I slowly back up inside, and I sat in the living room with all the lights on in the house. I did not even bother going back outside. And I went out the next day. Seems like I always go back out the next day because I sure as hell wasn't going back out that night. And the way the pasture is, it's sloping. Right there by the house, it's level with the house and it slopes like that, kind of. On that slope, there's a whole bunch of matted grass that had been laid down in a big circle where something had been laying down at just the right angle to be able to just peer over the top of that little lip to be able to look at the porch. That spooked me real bad.
Well, that area back in there is pretty creepy too, but I've heard stories about sightings out at Spring Lake, which is on the other side, going the other side of Belleville.
Yeah, I have too.
And for there to be a Bigfoot like creature out there, I mean, it could be possible. You never can tell.
Yeah, but that's on the north side of town. I was on the south side.
That's true, but you get back in there and it keeps turning into, more and more woods way back there.
And also the south side, all that connects on. It's 15 miles as the crow flies to where y'all lived.
Right.
Back in those mountains.
That
ain't far at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can take dirt road all the way from there to get to our house.
Yeah, I know.
And not ever hit a paved road at all.
Mom, I think, swears up and down, at least from what I understand, that she's seen a shadow run across the backyard one night.
Ooh.
Yeah. She was peeking out one of the windows, I think. I think it was a window. I hope it wasn't the back door open. But she seen shape just dart across the backyard. And it wouldn't have taken much for something that big to jump that fence.
No, these things are quick. Golly. It's amazing their speed.
Yeah, well, what's ironic is right after our little initial first thing that happened, there was a school teacher in Havana. See, you have Belleville, then Havana, and they're all one school district. And a school teacher working late one night in Havana, I guess she was gearing up for something. I don't know what she was doing. At the high school, she was loading up boxes into her car, and something screamed at her from the pasture behind the high school. Yeah.
I never heard that one.
Yeah, I only knew that because I think Jonathan's girlfriend was still in school at the time. He was younger than me, so, and I wasn't really that. I was like early 20s when this happened.
Right.
So this is all happening at the same time. 2006, 2007, and there was another sighting that's actually on the BFRO. My incident's on the BFRO. There's another sighting roughly at the same time at Spring Lake, 2006, 2007, at Spring Lake, where they saw something right around Spring Lake. They were going to New Blaine late one night. So,
boy,
yeah. And then getting to your, you talking about us seeing something. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You said me and Mom seen something.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh yeah. I don't know what we saw. It was too quick. But this is further on from when we had the initial stuff happen. I'm wanting to say a few years. Uh, we after this initial stuff happened, we'd taken the driving down there. We'd really gotten a curiosity into Bigfoot more. You remember we'd really started diving into it more after all this. I mean, part of me still really wants to see one, and then there's that part of me that doesn't. We were down in the Belleville River bottoms, not far. I mean, right there where all this stuff originally happened, which is kind of ironic. It's like you couldn't have wrote it any better. And those fields, they were. I thought it was really odd because that year they were planted in corn, and they were growing. Oh, they were about, I want to say 4 feet at that point, not quite full grown, you know. I don't know what time of year that would have been. I can't remember exactly. It was warm though, I know that. But 3 to 4 feet high corn, and we came around that corner, you know, as you come into those fields, and I seen something ahead, and instead of slowing down, you know, like most people do when they see something, I gunned it because I knew that it looked odd, and because it's on the side of the road, you know, like it was on the side of the road, and I knew it wasn't normal what I was seeing, and I wanted a better look before it did something and disappeared. So I did the reverse of what most people did, where they stop. I gunned it. And when I gunned it, this thing leapt. Full on body leapt into the other side of the cornfield. It wasn't very big. Well, I say it wasn't very big. 3 to 4 feet long. I'm wanting to say it had silvery gray hair, unusual looking. I'm wanting to say it was a Bigfoot. I think it was. I couldn't get. We were 35, 40 yards, give or take. The lights kind of fading in the background.
You said it had grayish hair.
That's what I thought, but that could have been the headlights playing with it too.
Yeah,
It's very possible. It was unusual.
I mean, maybe it was a older Bigfoot that was, you know, past his prime and, you know, kind of going downhill.
It just didn't look big enough. It wasn't big.
Well, maybe it was a juvenile then.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking juvenile that I'd caught, and it wasn't ready for us. And I don't think it was a full body leap because I don't think it quite cleared it. Because I think I can remember arms coming down middle of the road and it propelling itself further, almost like you would see an ape do. It was so weird. Because I can remember this because it was so strange the way it did this. And I got up to where it had gone to, and there's nothing there. I looked. I could not see a thing. I wasn't going in after it. I knew that. But I can just remember because that was the oddest thing because it's hunched over in the ditch when we came around that corner.
Well, you know, there are stories where they're hunched over or they're even crawling on all fours.
Yeah, but it didn't have the mass.
Yeah.
It didn't have the size. Whatever we saw was not big enough to have been a full-grown one, or even, I would say, a juvenile. I was thinking more adolescent size.
Wow.
Whatever it was, we caught it out in the open, and it wasn't ready for us. I think we caught a young one that was playing in the cornfield. You know, maybe Mama was off in the wood line or something. So that's what I think we saw. I mean, do I know that for sure? No, I have no idea. I just know that was the weirdest thing I have ever seen.
Right.
And it was creepy too in the way that it moved. It is unusual.
Right.
But it was this happened in a second. It was a second. Because it didn't give me time to get close or nothing. It was gone.
Boy,
Yeah.
that would have been something to see.
It was strange. So I don't know. I mean, Mom's retelling I think is a little bit different from mine because I think we both seen details that are slightly different from each other.
Right.
So you'd
Right.
have to ask her because I think our coloring is off. I mean, as I said, mine might have been my eyes catching different details. I think mine may have been my eyes playing hell with the headlights. That could have been, that coloring it. So I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, even to this day, there's something out there.
I think so.
We know that. And me and Richard and a couple of our other friends, um, Zach and
Let's say we've had Ireland out there with us. Yeah.
yeah, Zach and Ireland, yeah. And we went out there and we found, that day the toe prints. That
I've,
was the most substantial thing that we found.
I've been told they're toe prints. I've also been told they could be knuckle prints.
Or knuckle prints, whatever.
It's.
And we'll show pictures of this.
I've
Uh,
also been told they're bear prints. I don't know. I've been told multiple things by multiple different people. I will say this: if they were bear prints, they're not. They don't have claws.
exactly. Where are the claws if they're bear prints?
The reason I think knuckle prints probably matches more, because I think in the picture you see four digits, not five. So that's why it really, and they are actually huge.
Yes.
They are big.
And the thing about it is, it was right there at running through a spring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could have been something, using their knuckles, bending down, and using their other hand to drink with out of that spring.
It was running water.
Right. But we found breaks. Oh my gosh, we found breaks. It was just unusual how they was too. They couldn't be explained.
And this was also where we found a lot of this. Up there in those mountains, people do go, but not during the time we were there. We
Yeah,
seen
exactly.
one person that entire day.
Exactly. And then, of course, me and Sean Vines, he's our other partner.
Yeah.
Um, we went up there and we found some unusual stuff. I mean, there's these almost square rocks. Look like you could use them as a table, and they had a pile of nuts, hickory nuts and stuff on them.
That's
You know,
weird.
you,
You'll have
you,
to send those to me, by the way.
yeah, I'll send them to you.
Just message them
But
to me. But,
I'm thinking that's too many to be a squirrel. I've seen squirrels do that, but I'm talking about there's pile. I mean, there's a big pile, and it's just unusual, and all the breaks. And then, of course, we had something happen. Uh, it was weird. We was walking up this old logging road, and the wind was blowing really bad that day. But we got on up there, and it just, I don't know, we got a weird feeling. It just didn't seem right. But then we heard this sound, and it did it twice. And I wish we could have caught it on the audio. Sean had his audio going on his Chromebook, but we couldn't catch it because of the wind. But this sound, it was like someone out rolling their tongue and making this sound.
rolling it
And
out.
Yeah, rolling. Like, but it was much louder.
Huh.
It was louder and deeper, and it
That is
was nothing
strange.
nothing I've ever heard before.
Jeez.
But it freaked us out, and we thought, well, we're kind of in a bad situation. We're far from the truck. We're probably about a mile and a half in, and we're far from the truck. The wind's blowing. We can't hear nothing coming. And it was just one of them bad days, and we just decided to back out of there, and we'll try to explore it later on. Hopefully, we'll get to go for more little expeditions.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole area is it's strange and it's spooky.
It is. It is.
And as far as I know, there is not another Bigfoot group that looks into it. So.
Right. Right. And I think we're in a good area.
I do too. So. But anyway, Craig, do you want to go ahead and call it? We've been on for a while.
I know it. I know it. Right quick though, I want to give a shout out to a couple. First is to our good buddy Sean Vines. He started a YouTube. He actually started another YouTube channel. It's called YouTube Passion Project, and it's called Me, Myself, and Flint. And he discusses like struggles in life. And he just really started this. So if you give him a watch, if you're struggling with things, in your life, stress, whether it be stress, anxiety, or whatever, check him out. And then we got another one that I want to put a shout out, Angel Green Eyes 36, and she's on TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram, and she does videos about domestic and sexual assaults.
Good ones to do.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to probably turn this into a two-parter. We're going to start discussing the Falk Monster, probably the Ozark Howler, and any other Ozark Bigfoot, or Arkansas Bigfoots we can come across. So stay tuned for the next one.
Please give us a like, share us, subscribe to us.
Alrighty.
It'll help us out. Thank y'all, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.
Out here, the truth walks down a dusty path, often hidden in the shadows of the woods, whispered in old stories around low-burning campfires. Whether it's the echo of footsteps down abandoned hallways, lights in the sky over forgotten hollers, or something ancient sliding from shadow to shadow between the trees, we don't have the answers. We just keep digging for the truth. Somebody has to. We join the others, those who watch, who listen, who wonder, in search of the answers that slip through our fingers. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and above all else, stay safe. We'll catch you down the trail. This has been the Supernatural Roundtable.